I want to welcome my co-host to the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show, Sansara Taylor, who's in New York City. Sansara, how are you?
Andy, I'm very good. It's great to be with you. And I know you talked about we're in a very crucial juncture with the battle to defend the legal right to abortion. And I have a very big announcement and plans to share with viewers tonight. But I think you want to do something before we get there.
Yes, and Sarah, before we get to your message, I want to show, and we want to show, some of what Rise Up for Abortion Rights did this past week. Was designed very bold actions to disrupt business as usual, to inspire people and call on people to get in the streets themselves so that we can fill the streets with people to be able to stop the Supreme Court from overturning the right to abortion. So I think we decided we're going to play these segments first from various news stations, and then you'll come give your message.
Major drama at Lakewood Church today as Joel Osteen's service was disrupted by abortion rights activists who filmed their protest and then posted it on social media.
A video that's gone viral online. Abortion activists interrupted yesterday morning service at Lakewood Church.
It's my body, my choice. It's my body, my choice. Overturn, girls. Hell no. My body, my choice. I am who I say I am. I do what I say I can do because I have a choice.
If you'd like to open your Bibles to Nehemiah chapter 4, you're welcome to. Nehemiah chapter 4, and we'll wait just one moment here, but God is good, and He's on the throne, and He's in control, so...
Abortion rights activists released a banner at yesterday's Dodger game against the Mets. The video, uploaded by the Rise Up for Abortion Rights group, shows the banner with the words, "Overturn Roe, hell no." In a press conference, the activist group said that it was calling on people to, quote, wear green and raise hell to stop the Supreme Court from overturning Roe v. Wade.
One and done, a single elimination, and that's why it was exciting, but I also think now going to...
Abortion on demand and without apology. Woo! All right.
All right, so what you just saw is just a beginning taste of the kind of disruptive, nonviolent acts of courage, defiance, protest that need to go on across this country. Thousands of people taking bold actions like this, waking up and rousing the millions into struggle very quickly. So what I want to do now is I want to read a major announcement and call that will be posted on the riseupfораbortionrights.org website by the time this episode airs. I'm going to read just the opening portion of it. And it goes like this. Stop the Supreme Court from taking away abortion rights. The highest court in the world's most powerful country stands poised to rip from women their fundamental right to control their bodies, their reproduction, and their destinies. We refuse to be bystanders as the state shatters women's lives, extinguishes their dreams, hijacks their bodies, forces girls to bear the children of their rapists, hits Black, brown, young, and poor women with special viciousness, accelerates a fascist assault on contraception, LGBTQ rights, voting rights, Black history and Black people, and much more. Not just in red states, but nationwide, sending shockwaves around the world. Monday, June 13th, 2020, come to the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. and stay. Imagine, every day, more and more people pouring into the Capitol, amassing at the Supreme Court, all-night vigils, protests, hunger strikes, people by the thousands and tens of thousands returning day after day, the green bandana of abortion rights everywhere. On Mondays, when the Supreme Court typically releases decisions, the Capitol and the court become so clogged with masses of women, men, people of all genders and nationalities and backgrounds that it becomes clear to all those in power that we will sooner bring the gears of society to a grinding halt through mass nonviolent resistance than allow them to take away the right to abortion. Those behind this assault are counting on our silence. We must not give it to them. Now that's the opening. I want to pause there because this is very important, this call that we're issuing. So I think it'd be worth it to talk about why we're going to DC, why this is so essential, and the vision of getting down there.
Sansara, that was very moving. It's a very profound and it's a bold call. I think it'd be important right now to go more deeply into why DC, what difference it would make for thousands and then tens of thousands to come to DC and be in front of the court. Let's dig into this a bit more.
Yeah, well, Washington, D.C., this Supreme Court is the scene of the crime. They've told the world, it's been leaked, that everybody knows they're about to rip from women this fundamental right, the crime against half of humanity. And we have to be there to stop this crime from happening. People have to go there, put their bodies in front of that court, right across from the Capitol, the seat of power where the eyes of the world are. We need to be there with our green, and we need to demonstrate with hundreds at first, dozens if that's what it is at the beginning, but it should be hundreds, and soon thousands and tens of thousands, that we are operating in the interests of humanity. We are putting it on the line. We are fighting for the lives and futures of women. And our morality needs to trump and completely shred and strip that court of any legitimacy in the eyes of the world. They claim that they're acting on behalf of the preservation of life, of this, of that. We have to be there to say no. You don't represent the interests of the people. You don't represent the will of the people. And you have no claim to morality and to legitimacy. And gum up the workings, non-violently, but gum up the workings of the Capitol, of the functioning of government, of the seat of power. People need to be there, hunger striking, sitting in, camping out all night in front of the Supreme Court, coming back day after day. Prominent people should come through and lend their support, perform, read, sit in, be part of it. And people from all over the country cycle through. If you can stay, stay, quit your job, come for the summer, be on the ground. This is the place to be. A monumental crime is on its way to be cemented into the law. And now is the time to put it on the line to stop it. That's the place to be. And everywhere else across the country, people need to be taking to the streets. They need to be rising up, going to courthouses, all kinds of creative things like we just saw. But in DC is the center of this all. And that's where we're going to be starting Monday.
Yeah. Okay, Sansara, one thing we do want to say that the 10,000s, the thousands, the 10,000 people or so who've protested with Rise Up for Abortion Rights, you stepped out. Now's the time to step up to another level. For those who are young, you got to unite your parents around this. Come down with them. We'll work things out for this. But people need to be there and make this statement. The way you said, I want to talk a little bit before we go to the rest of this call to some of what was previewed in the kinds of actions that we just showed. And maybe we could start discussing the action at Lakewood Church in front of the Joel Osteen.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to show a little excerpt of an interview that I did with one of the main women who led that protest, who actually conceived of that protest. She herself went to that church for 5 years and just had a depth of fury about the right of women to control their bodies being ripped away and the role that the church has played. And I think it's important for everybody who is watching to understand that took a lot of courage. Mm-hmm. It inspired a lot of people, but it took a lot of courage. It was not that she was not scared or nervous. It's that she understood there was something bigger at stake and she found her strength. And if we want others to be strong, we've got to find our own strength and daring in that way. So I think it'd be good to show a little bit of the interview that I did with her. I want to welcome Jules to We Only Want the World. How are you doing?
If you can't tell by my voice, I'm still recovering, but I'm doing amazing. I'm very grateful to be here today with you.
Well, I'm really glad to have you on the show tonight. And that took a lot of courage. That took a lot of bravery. Before we talk about it, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So my name is, I go by Jules. I am 21 years old. I'm from Austin, Texas, born and raised in Houston. I went to private Christian school up through freshman year of high school, as well as Lakewood Church for 5 years. So I have a very thorough understanding of the theocratic doctrine and just the Christian church in general and the direction that they are trying to take us in currently. I have seen it from the inside where they want us to be. And I know that we cannot go there. We absolutely do not have a choice. We have to, stand up against all of this. But I joined the organization Rise Up about a month. It's been barely over a month. I found it completely accidentally through Twitter. I was trying to get involved somewhere after the draft leak came out, and that was the first thing that I found was a die-in at a courthouse. And very quickly became a leader in the group and have been working alongside some other absolutely amazing, powerful women to make these things happen.
And on the day itself, or in the lead up to it, it took a lot of courage to do this. How did you find the courage? Were you nervous? What was that like?
So I struggle with anxiety regularly, but it was absolutely through the roof this past weekend, especially Saturday night. I think around 3 a.m. is when it really started to hit that we were going to be doing this in less than 12 hours. And just, it was terrifying, and when we were in the service itself, it was even more terrifying. I was taking videos throughout the service. And if you were to watch the videos, you'll see in the couple minutes leading up to when the event takes place, I am shaken like a leaf. But I just knew in my heart that, as uncomfortable as I was and as difficult as it was to put myself out there like that, it has no comparison to the level of discomfort and just as it is to force pregnancy on someone. And I knew that we did not have a choice, especially once we were down in that 5th row, that we had to do it and we had to take a stand. And I will say the plan changed last minute to where I was the first one standing up. And that was something to cope with for sure. But I knew that I didn't have a choice. And it was, like I said, it was my brainchild. It was my baby that we were able to bring to life. And it just, it was insane.
A lot of people look at it from the outside. You look so brave and so furious and so righteous and so absolutely without any hesitation. I think from the outside, no one would know that you were nervous. And I think it actually makes a lot of people think, oh, that's for other people who are not like me. I'm scared. I think the fact that you were scared and you did it anyhow is actually very important for people to understand. Do you want to say anything more about that? Because a lot of people use that as an excuse. Oh, but it'd make me uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, exactly what I said. It was uncomfortable. It was absolutely uncomfortable, especially, we had already sat through the full service. And as much as I was fully aware of what they were doing, I can't lie that I didn't feel like a little twinge of guilt here and there. Like, are we in the right place? But it's like, no, we are in the right place. We are supposed to be here. These people, they need to hear the message, and the people around the world and around the country need to hear the message, because we have to stand up. We have to rise up. So a couple of weeks ago, we had our national Zoom conference with the Rise Up organization with you. And we went from saying, how dare they do this to us, to we will dare.
So, Sansara, the day after the banner drop at Dodger Stadium, the action at Lakewood Church, we were watching the news and we saw this man, Guido, who chained himself by the neck to the Supreme Court fence. And this was, really, we didn't know about this, and it was quite inspiring what he did. I was just wondering if you knew some of why he did this.
Well, he also raised the green bandana, which is very important. It's the symbol of abortion rights that came out of Latin America, and that Rise Up for Abortion Rights has been popularizing here.
And he raised it the way they do, right? He put
it. Yeah, he raised it the way they do, up above his head, and he did it while he was chained to the Supreme Court fence, and as he was being taken away into custody. And he actually also went on hunger strike the night before. He slept in front of the court. He went on hunger strike, and he declared, and I think this is important. He said he was going on hunger strike until the decision comes from the Supreme Court or until thousands of people join him in standing up in front of the court and millions across the country. It really was a first step, a challenge to the majority of people in this country who support the legal right to abortion to get out of their passivity and stand up, because if we did, we have the power to stop this. So his hunger strike, his protest was, yes, directed against the criminals taking this right away, but even more so directed towards the force, the people who could stand up and secure this right if we dared. And I think that's very important. It also is, it really brings alive something that Rise Up for Abortion Rights has been stressing, and that came out in the action at the Barclays Center Liberties basketball game that was also disrupted, where 6 women with Rise Up for Abortion Rights and others in the stands ran out on the field, on the court, and disrupted the game, brought it to a standstill briefly, and raised the green bandana. And they got a standing ovation from the fans in the stands. They got a lot of love in the sports broadcasters and writers. They got love from some of the players. One of the players said,
"If it solves something, I'm all for it."
It's very important that there is a mass reservoir. This is something Rise Up for Abortion Rights has said from the beginning. There is a reservoir of millions and millions in this country who support the right to abortion, but we need to act in ways that are challenging them and inspiring them to get out of their passivity and to rise up themselves. Yes, thousands at the beginning, but very quickly in the next week, 10 days, maybe less, millions into the streets to stop this crime from going down. So this is really the beauty of the boldness, the daring, and the way that these actions force themselves into the media, into the news, into the zeitgeist. They were unignorable. And it wasn't just spreading the word, it was spreading a certain fighting orientation.
So, Nsara, that last point is very important. Very quickly, this movement needs to go to thousands and tens of thousands of people in the streets in Washington, D.C., but as well as around the country, but especially in Washington, D.C. This is going to make a tremendous difference. And yes, people put it on the line in these beginning actions. That needs to step up as more and more people get involved. These actions need to step up in their disruption of society and the normal business of society. I would like you to read the end of this draft call, because it makes the argument for what must be done, not just by Rise Up for Abortion Rights. We're not looking for, oh, you people are so brave, I was so inspired by what you did. If you're inspired by what Rise Up for Abortion Rights has done, then you need to act.
Yeah, so this is the tale of the call that I read the first half of before. And again, it'll be on the website, the final version, riseupfораbortionrights.org by the time this episode broadcasts. It says, "The whole world is watching. Let them see our courage. This will not be easy, but a world where women are subordinated to the state, where wombs are regulated by the government and treated as potential crime scenes, must not be tolerated. Let our visible courage call forth the courage of others. Let our righteous fury awaken the suppressed fury of millions of women and girls and all who love justice. Let our willingness to put it on the line not only defeat this assault, this crime against women, while there is still a chance to do so, but also forge us into a more daring, deeply connected, and justice-loving people, bringing into being a world filled with the same. If not now, then when? And if not all of us, then who? The future depends on what we do or fail to do in these momentous days. Let us act with boldness, daring, and courage. Rise up for abortion rights. Forced motherhood is female enslavement, abortion on demand and without apology."
All right, Nsara, we can't add to that. All we can say is I know you're going to be heading down to D.C. We're putting it on the line. We're going to get into that repeatedly and publicize this on the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show. And we just call on everybody who sees this show, to spread this message, to spread the word of Rise Up for Abortion Rights. And now is the time. So thank you again, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, and to everybody watching, come see me, meet me in DC on Monday, and I will talk to you on the episode next week from Washington, DC.
You got it. All right. Good night, Sansara.